Welcome to this part one of the series of tutorials. There's probably going to be two for completing your assignment, which is called Excel 1 HR and Cash Flow Assignment. To get started, you're going to download and open the file called Excel 1 HR and Cash Flow Start, which is available to download from this module in your course shell. And I already have, and I already opened it. On Windows, it might open with that script that says Enable Editing, and of course you will. And the first step is to do, like we've done in previous assignments, is to do a Save As. And what you're going to do is change the word Start to your last name. Not the instructions, but the Save As. On Mac, of course, I have a file menu on the top. On Windows, it's a tab on the left side, but Save As is Save As. And I'm going to change Start to, I always use the fictional name Smith. And it could be right into your downloads or into your documents, wherever you choose to save it. I always recommend for an initial primary save, not online location. Not like OneDrive or anything like that. So it's saved to my local drive and it has the right name. Next, so part one starts with beginning on the personnel worksheet by merging and centering A1E1 and A2E2. Now, when it says personnel worksheet, if we look at this whole workbook, you can see that it already has two worksheets with some partial information. I'm going to start on the personnel workbook and select from A1 to E1 merge and center, from A2 to E2 merge and center. Again, to select from A1 to, I'm going to undo the last thing. Beginners a lot of times make the mistake of selecting a cell, and to expand their selection they think they're going to use this handle. This is not for expanding selection. This is called the fill handle. For just selecting more than one cell, click somewhere in the middle, click and hold with a mouse. I recommend the mouse, and again, merge and center. And of course, save our changes. Next, adjust the width of column A using auto fit, because we can see that the names barely fit. How do we do auto fit? We go to the dividing line between the letter A and B and double click on that dividing line, and that's auto fit. We see that some other columns also are not fitting, but those are going to be adjusted later on. Change the width, that's exactly where we are, of column B to 16 points or 16 characters, and that should get rid of the hashtags. And there's more than one way to do it, but the easiest way I know is to go to the letter B, right click on it, column width, and instead of whatever it says right now, 16, which means it'll fit up to 16 characters, and now it's way more than enough to contain whatever is there. Next, change the format. I'm reading, by the way, those instructions from the Word file where I created them, but you can also read them from your course shell without downloading them as a file. Change the format of B5 to C16 to currency, and that would be all of the places where there's numbers now, because we want to make sure that people know that those are dollars. So B5 all the way to C16, and in the Home tab, General Currency. Select E5, E6, and using the fill handle, finally we are using the fill handle, drag to fill all the way to E16. What's the point here? That E5 and E6, I'm clicking to select them both, not with a fill handle, but now that they're both selected, I can tell Excel that they constitute some kind of like a series. And I go, you see how the first one says 1 and the second one says 2? And if I expand the series, this time with the fill handle, moving my mouse over the fill handle until it turns into a black crosshair and dragging all the way to 16, and it completes the series. And it saves me quite a lot of work. Imagine if there weren't 12 of them, but 1,200 of them. Then After we've done that, step number 6, we're going to enter the exact text, jane.ramirez@gem.com. Exactly, and case sensitive. In other words, everything, in this case, in lowercase. Now, why are we doing this? Usually, when you get hired to a company, or even as a student when you enroll at school, they take your name and somehow formulate it into an email. Like all of you have your emails at Broward College, which is usually like, the first letter of your first name and then your last name and so on. And every company has their formula. So in this company, they gave this employee, Jane Ramirez, an email by taking her first name. It's easier to type in the formula bar. Jane dot Ramirez at, and the name of the company is Gem. So they have their own domain, gem.com. And that represents like the formula or the format of how employee names become emails. Notice that in my case, the email already became a link. I'm not going to be picky about that. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. As long as the format is correct, I'm going to zoom in so you can see that it's the right first name, the right last name, everything's spelled right at gem.com. Now, the whole point is, again, teaching Excel how to formulate emails for all the other employees. Now, in this case, we got 11 other employees, total of 12. But again, what if we had 1,200? That would be a lot of work. So Excel can actually automate some of that work. So the whole point is that while D5 is selected, we're going to use a button called Flash Fill, not the fill handle, using the fill drop-down arrow in the editing group on the Home tab to automatically enter emails to the remaining cells in the range. So we find it in the Home right here under the Fill menu, Flash Fill. So it's selected. Right here, there's a drop menu for filling and Flash Fill. Click, and look at what it just did. It assumed that exactly what we did to Jane Ramirez, it'll do to all the other employees and saved us a lot of work. Save. Then step number 8, change the width of column D to 36 points. So again, select D, right click on it with a mouse, column width, I don't know what it is right now, 32. We want it to be 36. The reason is that some emails, like some names, can become longer. I want to make sure that there's enough room for longer names maybe in the future. We're going to, step number 9, enter the word total in A17. A17. The word total. Then, in cell B17, using the formula bar, create a formula using the sum function to determine the total salary paid by GEM Insurance Agency by totaling the values of the range B5, B16. This whole thing is about, a bunch of employees who are all paid, let's say, weekly salary, and also on top of that earn commission. So in B17, I want to know how much the company is paying to all those employees together. So in B17, I'm going to write the formula equals, every formula starts with equal, then the function sum, S-U-M, technically needs to be written in capital letters, but I found that Excel will forgive you if you write it even in lowercase. Then we open parentheses, the regular round parentheses, and put the range. The range is B5, colon, B16. From B5 to B16, and look at how it even highlights it for me to make sure that that's what I want. Close the parentheses, sum, B5, B16, and then enter or return. And it should, that makes sense, that together they're about $10,000 per week or per whatever. In the instructions, it even tells you what formula to add, just in case. It should look something like And it does. So we can go to step 11. Using the fill handle, copy the formula you created in cell B17 to C17, and the result should be 533 something. So I'm saying, hey, just like I added up all the salaries, I want to add up all the commissions. So in this case, I'm going to take the fill handle, bottom right corner, black crosshair, drag to C17, and it added up all the commissions. Then we are going to enter the words number of employees in A18 and adjust column width if needed. Number of employees, A18. 19. Is it 19? Yeah, 19. A19, the text, number of employees. Enter. And as you can see, it's a little too much. It's like the column's too narrow. So I'm going to auto-fit again, the borderline between A and B, double click. I think you're guessing that in B19, we're going to count the number of employees. So that's the next step. In cell B19, create a formula using the count function to determine the number of people employed by, it's not Tableau Insurance, it's GEM Insurance. Agency by counting the values from B5 to B16. So it tells you even what you need to type. That's how it's going to look. The function is count B5, B16, and it should result in 12 employees. So I'm going to manually type that. Equals count. See how it even gives me like a hint? The range is B5, B16. Don't forget that it's a colon, not a comma, and not a semicolon. And it gave me 12 employees. By the way, if you see like marching ants, like squiggly lines around something, and you're wondering how do I get rid of that, the escape always takes you out of that stuff. The escape key on your keyboard. Then we're going to enter the word averages in A21. A21, the word averages. I don't need that H. Did I spell it right? I think I did. And you're guessing, probably, that we need to know what the average salary is of all those employees. So just like we used sum and count, now we're going to use average. So in cell B21, I can always tell the address by looking here. I'm going to type equals average, or just take the hint, as soon as I type like AV, same range, B5, 16, like saying, hey, Excel, please give me the average of the salaries from B5 to B16, and that's the average, and it makes a lot of sense because they're all more or less in that range. And of course, save. And we just did step number 15. Step number 16, using the fill handle, we're going to copy it to from B21 to C21. Because just like we want to know the average salary, we also, fill handle, click, hold, drag, want to know the average commission. And it even tells you what the result should be. By now, the sheet should look something like this, and it does. Then we're going to insert a new column. By selecting column D, the letter itself, right-click and insert. Then it pushes column D and up to be up one letter. Let me give it a nice space. And let's do that first. So I'm going to select D. Then I'm going to right-click and insert. On Windows, it might look, cosmetically different, but function exactly the same. Notice how as soon as I click and I do that, this is the new column D, and whatever used to be D is now E, what used to be D is now F. It just pushed everything one step further, one letter up. And we need to enter the words total paid in D4. So just like all of these, all the other fours have a, like a title. This also needs to have a title, total paid. Because we want to know not only how much salary we're paying Jane Ramirez, not only how much commission, but to these two guys together. That's the total number, the total dollars that we're paying this employee. And I think you're guessing that we're also going to total all of that. In D5, enter a formula that adds the salary plus commission. So I'm saying, hey, how much are we paying Jane Ramirez? Equals, in this case, it's what's called a formula without a function. Formula without a function simply means that we're adding, multiply, dividing, and so on, just cells. And I'm saying, okay, where's her salary? B5. Where's her commission? C5. That's it. That's the formula. Equals B5 plus C5, enter. And that's how much she gets in her paycheck total. Equals B5 plus C5. And using the fill handle, we're going to copy that formula to D6 through D16 for all the other employees. Just it's like saying, hey, whatever we did for Jane Ramirez, fill handle, black crosshair, all the way down, not to 17, but to 16. This plus this is the total paid. Save. Step 22, copy the formula, just like, we did that from B17 to C17. Now we're going to copy the formula from C17 to D17 because we want the total. That's the total the company pays with salary and commission together, which makes sense because this number plus this number is this number. Notice how it now sums D5 through D16. So D5 through D16 all together. Then we're going to make the data a lot easier to look at by turning it into a table. What's the difference between a grid and a table? A table is like fencing in a bunch of cells and saying you belong together, especially so I can sort you. So we're going to select A4 through F16. Make sure this is the exact range selected. So A4, F16. A4 is this guy, all the way to F, all the way down to 16. Don't include 17. Totals are very rarely included in a table. They're like right below the table. Then, once it's selected, Home, Tab, Styles, Format as Table. So this whole range, A4 through F16, Home tab, Format as Table. And out of all the tables possible, because it's like a big gallery, the one I want you to use is from the group Medium, from the category Medium, and it's called Green Table Style Medium 2. Format as Table, Medium, Green Table Style, Medium 2. Click. Then, where's the data range for your table? You don't need to change anything because really what it does, we'll go over that in class, is A4, F16, and those little dollar signs before it's like $A, $4, $F, $16, means that it's absolute, which is a concept we're going to discuss in class separately. Also, if it asks you, my table has headers, and in the instructions, it says in the dialog that appears, no need to change the data values. If you made the right selection, it should show this, and make sure that my table's header is checked, and then click OK. I'll do it again. Select, Format as Table, this guy, OK. What changed? Not much, but if you look carefully, you will see that now the top of each column has a little sorting, triangle, which is a lot of help. I don't know what this did. It was just what I was trying to demonstrate, so let me do it again. Again, A4, F16, Format as Table, this guy, Okay, save. Now you can sort the table by any column, ascending or descending, big to small, small to big. Text, like names, can be sorted alphabetically. Adjust column widths if needed. Is everything fitting in? Right now, everything looks like it fits, so there's no need to adjust column width. But the whole idea is that I'm saying, let me see, let me sort all the employees by commission. So I'm going to click on that little triangle and ask for descending. Descending means from big to small. And it's going to put whoever, it's rearrange the whole table, not just this column. And Omar Davis is the one employee that makes the most commission. Or I can say, please arrange all the employees alphabetically, ascending, A to Z. And all of them, right now it's by first name because it's on the same field. Or I can say commission, who makes like the least commission going up? Commission, ascending. Oh, sorry, not commission, salary, ascending. This is the least, this is the most. It just arranges them, any way I want. If I ever want to go back to the original one, I can always go back to number. That's why we gave them numbers and go back to numbers, which might represent, like, let's say, the order that they were hired. And it goes back to being 1 through 12. This is why tables are so useful for sorting, especially ascending and descending. Just like in an e-store, like, show me the cheapest price low to high, high to low, and so on. So by now the sheet should look something like this. And that means that we're ready for part 2. So I'm going to do one last save. I'm going to stop this part of the tutorial, which we're going to call part 1. And I will see you in part 2, where we're going to deal with the cash flow.